Alright, so I wanted to make a video about World War III that wasn't just me playing a match for 40 minutes. And well, there's tons of kind of reviews and maybe some in-depth videos here and there, but I haven't seen anyone discussing really what guns they wanted added to the game. Yes, the Farm 51 should really be focusing on bigger problems than adding guns to the game, like optimization, fixing glitches, the works, but it's always fun to theorize about future content. Not saying any of these guns I list will be in the game, but it's always fun to theorize. So in this video, I'm going to suggest 2 guns for each class that would be interesting to add to the game. I'm going to suggest one kind of generic gun, like one you might have heard of, and then I'm going to suggest one weird gun, probably one you never heard of. Some of you might have problems with the guns I'm suggesting, as I tried to stay away from AR-15 based guns as well as AK based guns, as we have multiple of those in game already, so I wanted to pick something that wasn't like a gun we had in the game already. If you want to know more about these guns, there will be videos and stuff linked down in the description, probably to Forgotten Weapons or maybe some other channels where you can learn more about them. So let's go from smallest to biggest. That means pistols first. Pistols are not really that important to the game, but I think I picked 2 good ones. The first pistol, kind of generic, but it's the M45 MEUSOC, MUSOC. MUSOC means Military Expeditionary Unit Special Operations Capable. The M45 is basically an M1911. Fires 45 ACP, automatic Colt pistol, holds 7 rounds. Uses the tipping barrel locking system that nearly every pistol uses today. You can't really go wrong with what is basically an M1911, but slightly more modernized. So, the second pistol. This is something that is far less generic, and it's also stupidly expensive. It is the FK BRNO. It's spelled BRNO, so I guess you say it BRNO. It is from the Czech Republic. It is a new pistol firing a new round. The gun, like I said, is stupidly expensive. It is a round about $8,000. Yeah, almost $8,000. It also fires its own proprietary round, the 7.5 FK. Kind of a strange looking pistol round, kind of reminds me of the 7.62 Tokarev in shape, but bigger. The gun also uses a short recoil action, which is not common for pistols. Usually pistols are blowback or tipping barrel from the 1911. Some use a rotating barrel designed from the Savage, but most of them are blowback or tipping. It also holds 15 rounds, which is pretty impressive for a new cartridge. Since this is a new gun, I'm not sure if the Farm 51 can add the gun to the game for legal reasons, I'm not sure how patents work, I'm not sure how adding guns to games work, that are, not old. I guess they might have to change the name or something. Let's call it the KF No-Go or something, I don't know. It would be a cool pistol to have in game since the round has some stupid high velocity. I think they try to achieve 2,000 feet per second out of this round, out of a pistol, which is that's basically rifle velocity. And that's out of a pistol. So this pistol would be actually very good versus light body armor. So kind of interesting in gameplay, It's because the round is kind of small, so I'm guessing it wouldn't do much damage, but it would go through if someone doesn't have steel, it would probably go through that really easily. Well, those were the 2 pistols I suggest adding to the game. Not sure if either one's going to be added, but we're going to go on to submachine guns. So the first SMG. Obviously, for a generic SMG, we have to pick the MP5. Is there really any other choice for your bog standard Cold War modern-ish SMG? Delayed roller blowback, 30-round magazines, or several different types of drum magazines now. Fires 9x19 Parabellum, or you can get it in 40 Smith & Wesson and 10mm. You can get the 10mm if you want a more powerful round. Adding the 10mm version might be more interesting than adding the standard 9mm version, since 10mm is a lot more powerful of a pistol round. So you kind of have this high damage SMG. which would be an interesting concept. So for the less generic one, I picked the Calico. This is a strange SMG pistol carbine thing from the 90s. The goal was to get a compact weapon that holds as many rounds as possible. So they made this cylinder helical magazine that goes on top of the gun. Russia actually copied this for the Bison, and apparently North Korea has for their AKs, which look really dumb and have to be stupidly heavy. So the Calico holds 100 rounds, or 50, depending on what size magazine you use. Either way, that is a lot of rounds. You basically have like light machine gun territory of rounds. So the Calico is still made today by the Calico company, and they even offer like a modernized version with like Picatinny rails and stuff. Cool gun, would definitely be fun to use the 100 rounds. You know, the problem is I don't think any country has ever adopted the Calico, but the fact that it's still made today and still offered, you know, it's basically offered just to civilians, though I'm not sure if any, like I said, I don't think any military has ever adopted it or police have ever adopted it. So next, onto the assault rifles. Now this is going to be a bit difficult because I don't know if Farm 51 is going to separate assault rifles and more battle rifle style guns. You know, assault rifles being intermediate cartridges like 223 or 7.62x39 or 6.5 Grendel or 6.8 SPC or 300 Blackout or 224 Valkyrie or 2545 Sharps, or is it 2540 Sharps? I forget. And, you know, full power battle rifles firing 308, 7.62x51, 7.62x54, 8mm Mauser, and, you know, big rounds versus intermediate. So I'm going to put them into two separate groups, you know, one being assault rifles, the other being more battle rifles. So for the generic one, for the assault rifles, I picked the Steyr AUG. Okay, so the AUG isn't like the most generic, but it's kind of generic, but it's also kind of like a non-generic one. The AUG is probably my favorite modernish assault rifle, you know. I always liked the design. I think it's cool. It was very innovative for its day. I think it was designed in the 70s. You know, fires 5.56 NATO. You know, just a cool gun. One of the few successful bullpups in the world. There's not very many successful bullpups. There's a couple here and there, but they never saw like huge widespread adoption. So the second assault rifle might be too old for this game, or it might not be, but it's definitely not generic. It's probably one you've never heard of. It is the Cristobal Carbine, a very obscure assault rifle style gun from the Dominican Republic. It is from the 50s and still used today by them as a training weapon. The gun fires the .30 carbine round, the same as the M1 carbine. Now, it has been debated on whether the .30 carbine is an intermediate or like a large pistol round. So, it's technically in mm, it's like 7.62x33, which the STG round, the 8mm Kurtz, is 8mm x33. So, like I said, some have suggested it's intermediate, some have suggested it's a pistol round, so who knows. So, the Cristobal Carbine is used by the Dominican Republic, like I said. It was apparently also used by Cuban revolutionary Camilo Cienfuegos. I never heard of him, but Wikipedia lists him. But you know, that's enough about communists today. The Cristobal, you know, is a strange gun because the Cristobal is a strange gun, not just because it's so obscure, and I don't think it's ever been in a video game, but it also uses a delayed lever blowback, which is a very weird system that is not really used by many guns. I know the FAMAS uses it, and I think there's like a World War II Hungarian SMG that I think uses it, which I think that the Cristobal is actually based off of that Hungarian SMG. So the Cristobal could be like a weaker, later assault rifle that lets you have more power than an SMG, but you're not up there with like an AK, you know? You know, you could run a lighter build that lets you run faster, you know, because that's how this game works with its weight system. Does it really make sense to have the Cristobal Carbine in this game? Not really, but we do have the AK Alpha in the game, and that's just a prototype. The Cristobal has at least been adopted by a military. Now on to battle rifles. This, like I said, is if Farm 51 wants to separate battle rifles and assault rifles. So, not sure if they do. For the first generic one, the FN-FAL. Is there anything more generic? The right arm of the free world. Fires 7.62 NATO from 20-round detachable box magazine. Still gets modernized versions today. Can't go wrong with adding an FN-FAL to the game. So, for the second one, the non-generic battle rifle, I picked the Swiss Sig Sg 510, a very strange looking rifle from Switzerland. Fires the Swiss 7.65 by 55 round from 20 round magazines. I think there's also bigger magazines for it, but I know its standard is 20. It's a very strange looking gun because it was developed from the MG42 light machine gun. Yes, the Swiss looked at an LMG and went, "This should be a rifle." I guess it's not that different than the Germans looking at the Lewis gun and saying this should be a rifle with the FG42. The FG42 is developed from the Lewis gun. And then the US looking at the FG42 and saying this should be a light machine gun and turning it into the M60 basically. So in a weird way, the M60 is a Lewis gun. So the SG510 uses a delayed roller blowback, sort of like a G3, but more like an MG42. Like I said, that's the gun it was developed from. Weird looking gun, would be cool to have in game. On to LMGs. So there's two kinds of LMGs, belt fed and magazine fed. I picked the generic one for the belt fed and a less generic one for the magazine. So for the generic, the MG3. It's an MG42 but in 7.62 NATO instead of 8mm Mauser. It shoots really fast and is belt fed. For a kind of generic light machine gun, it's really cool looking. Obviously everybody knows the MG42, and the fact that the Germans just said, "Hey, MG42 is cool, we'll just rechamber it for 7.62 NATO." Would be cool to have a really, really fast firing light machine gun in the game. So for the non-generic, I picked the Ultimax 100. The very interesting LMG from Singapore, designed by an American, James Sullivan. If you don't know who James Sullivan is, he helped design the M16, the Ruger Mini 14, and the Stoner 63. The Ultimax does sort of look like a Stoner 63 in a way. The Ultimax is unique because it has a strange recoil-reducing system in it. It also fires really slowly for LMG, so its recoil is incredibly low. It fires 5.56 NATO from 30-round magazines or 100-round drums. So it'd kind of be like a lowish damage LMG, but like extremely controllable, and basically having no recoil. So, on to sniper rifles. I'm not sure if the Farm 51 wants to separate semi-auto sniper rifles and bolt-action sniper rifles, or manually operated ones, into different categories, because the category in-game is called the precision sniper rifles. I'm just going to do what I did with the light machine guns and suggest one of each. So, for the bolt-action, I picked the French FRF-2 sniper rifle. A rifle that kind of originally dates back to before World War II, but it has been modernized several times and fits the generic and kind of the unique slot for the bolt action, as it is a bolt action that is used by a military today, a large military, France, and it's also kind of one that nobody cares about, so it's kind of unique in that way. For the semi-auto, I picked the Alexander Arms Ulfberht. This is a very interesting modern gun, as it is a semi-automatic 338 Lapua, a very powerful round that is usually only found in bolt-action rifles. Another unique thing about the Ulfberht is that it's actually based on the DP-28 light machine gun from World War II. The DP-28 uses a kind of unique flapper locking system. The flapper locking system is a rare type of locking system. Some examples of it are the G43, the DP-28, and the RPD. And you can see that these are all old guns, but the Ulfberht is a modern gun that uses this flapper locking system. So, on to shotguns. For the generic one, it has to be the Franke Spaz 12. Yeah, it's overrated and not that amazing of a shotgun, but it looks really cool. It's a pump or semi-automatic shotgun. Cool looking, can never go wrong with putting a Spaz 12 in your game. I don't think anyone would complain about having a SPAS 12. So for the non-generic gun, we'll go with something very different. Something kind of in between a pump and semi-auto. The standard manufacturing DP-12, the double barrel pump action shotgun. Yes, a double barrel pump action shotgun. You pump it once, you get 2 shots. It's almost kind of a burst fire shotgun in a way. And it holds 16 rounds because it uses 2 tubes. So the last category is called the special category in game. It's a category that the RPG-7 is in. So I picked 2 interesting weapons. 2 very interesting weapons. So the first one, a weapon I think is very interesting and kind of old, but I think it still fits the game. It is the M202A1 Flash Flame Assault Shoulder Weapon. The 4-barreled launcher of doom. You probably think that the game already has a problem with RPGs being overpowered, and we don't need a 4-barreled RPG. Well, yes, the RPGs are very effective, and it's being looked at by the Farm 51. However, the M202A1 is weird, as it was actually made to replace the flamethrower. Yes, this rocket launcher was made to replace a flamethrower. So it is next to useless against heavy armor. I mean, you might be able to do damage to drones and like the armored car. You're mainly going to be using this thing against infantry. Now, like I said, you're sacrificing all anti-armor capabilities. Plus, this thing is very bulky and weighs like almost 30 pounds. And it apparently only had a 50% chance of hitting its target in real life. So for the second weapon, I suggest something that is very unique. And it's from South Africa. So, you know it's going to be weird. It is the Inkunzi Paw, which is a terrible name. And the older name of Neopup, I think, is way cooler. So that's what I shall call it. The Neopup is an incredibly strange weapon. It is a 20mm direct fire grenade launcher. I would put grenade launcher in quotations. It fires a very, very short 20mm round. It takes the 20mm Vulcan projectile and puts it in a 42mm case. So, really, really short 20mm. They're incredibly low velocity, only about 1,000 feet per second, which is like 300-ish meters per second. So they sort of act like grenades. I would suggest it's more of a 20mm rifle than a grenade launcher, but it's called a grenade launcher. So there are different types of ammo for it. HEI, high explosive incendiary, SAP HEI, semi-armor piercing high explosive incendiary, and armor piercing. Though the armor piercing rounds are not really meant for tanks, it's more meant for like light armor, like armored cars and stuff like that. So it's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none weapon. You can use it against infantry, but it's not going to be as effective as like a fragmentation RPG. You can use it against light vehicles, but the RPG is going to be better again. The 50 cal might even be better for light vehicles. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to be facing, but I like to have a weapon that can do damage to everything, but it might not be the best weapon to do damage to the thing I'm shooting at. Just kind of an interesting weapon. So, do you agree with any of my suggestions? Do you disagree with them? Tell me what guns or weapons you want to see in the game, you know? Tell me I'm an idiot for suggesting the Cristobal Carbine. Tell me I'm an idiot for not suggesting such and such gun, you know? Tell me what you think. I'm open to all criticisms. Alright, bye.